that the object you're looking for is not here, click on the Show All Salesforce Objects button. Oops, now my thing turned into an eraser. This is super weird. All right, now it's showing everything. You see that? Now, if you click in the box and you start typing the name of your object, it'll quickly take you to it. So there's a way to search in the box. Just like click anywhere in the box and start typing the name of your object, and it'll quickly pull it up for you. Now, one of the things I want to make sure you guys know is when you are creating your data file, you need to make sure that it's saved as a CSV, because the data loader is not going to recognize a straight up Excel file. So make sure when you do save as, that your file ends in .csv. So you want to select CSV from the list and save it. All right. And then once we know that it's a CSV file, if it's not a CSV file and you hit browse, it won't come up on the list. It'll be grayed out. So all these gray ones won't show. So you want to go ahead and look for your inventory item, inventory sheet. So here it is. Upload inventory level tech. It's the name of my file. And I see it's a CSV here, and I click open. So it opened up the file. And now I see it here, and then I can hit next. So now the one thing that you want to make sure that you're checking when you guys are doing data loads, once you hit that next button, this box is going to pop up that says data selection. And here it says initialization succeeded. That means that they were able to connect your CSV file to the object. And it says your operation will contain 24 records. So I always just double check that number and make sure that it matches the file that I'm uploading, because I have a file here with 24 records, right? Just make sure it matches, because that's just a quick way to kind of validate that you actually picked up the right file, or that it makes sense. There are times where, like, I'm working on an Excel sheet, maybe I forgot to save it and it's an older version, and I know I'm uploading 3,000 records, but it says 10. So what I do is I just X out of this and I double check my file and I reinitialize it. So that is a great way to just kind of really quickly double check that you have the right file. I know my file is 24 records, so I'm just taking a look at that. It looks good, so I'm going to hit OK. Now here you have two options. This is where you're mapping your fields. So mapping fields, when you guys start doing, like, you know, if you start creating forms that you want to put up on the website that connect into Salesforce and things like that, there's this whole concept of field mapping. Field mapping means that we're taking the fields that we have in our Excel sheet and we're mapping it to something in Salesforce. We want this data displayed in Salesforce. So our Excel file has these different categories, right? Type, make, model, body style. These are all fields in our Salesforce org, right? To make your life easier, if you name your Salesforce records, right, your fields in Salesforce, if you use the same names in your Excel headers, it makes your life easier because it's easier to map. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you have it called something differently, right? It doesn't really matter. Like, this field does not have to match your field in Salesforce. It makes it easier for you to complete the mapping, but it doesn't necessarily need to map. A team member might hand you an Excel file and they might have named it. They might have named models with an S on the end, right? The data mapping is not going to pick it up, but you can still go ahead and manually map it. Does anybody have any questions? I'm just going to stop for a second. Okay, so when you create your, did you have a question, Hamida?
No.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead.
For some reason, when I try to upload it, it's not finding it on my computer, and I don't know what I did wrong.
Okay, so sometimes that happens. Are you on a Mac?
No, I'm on a PC, a Dell.
Okay, why don't you rename it? Go File, Save As, give it another name, and save it in a location that you know where it is, like your desktop or something like that. So you can, like, physically see it, because it's just probably in a location and you can't find it. Name it something easy that you can search for.
I'll put memory.
Okay.
And then you said to make sure that it's
A CSV. If it's not,
how do you make sure of that?
just go File, Save As.
Yeah.
When you get to File, Save As, it's going to ask you to choose the file format. So go to your file format and look for CSV in the list. If it's Excel, it won't come up. So just make sure it says, like, you click on CSV and then save it. Anybody else having any issues finding their file?
Hi, Selena. For me, it says an empty column is missing.
So if you have empty column is missing, the way that I kind of clear that error out really quickly is click anywhere in your spreadsheet, because it's not going to allow you to update it with that column. So click anywhere in your spreadsheet and click Control A or Command A if you're on a Mac, just to select it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then copy it and put the data in a new tab, like I'm doing right now. Make sure that, you know, all the values carried over correctly. Delete the first tab, like delete this one.
Okay.
And then save it as a CSV again. So if you guys run into issues where it's like column missing or whatever the case may be, just go ahead and take that data and put it in a new tab. Because if there is like, you can sit here and like delete columns forever and it's never going to clear the error, right? Like you just need to move that data and put it in another tab and then file save as again.
Okay.
So if we have different CSVs, how do you know which one to save it under? Because I have one that says comma delimited and one says CSV UTF-8.
Yep, just use the one that ends in .csv. So there's one that says comma delimited. Use the one that just says comma separated values .csv. Use that one.
I don't have any .csv. It just said CSV comma delimited.
That's fine. Use that one.
Okay. I'm saving it.
Was that able to work for you when you created a copy of the file? I think that was video, but I'm not sure.
Yes. I'm trying to do.
Okay. Let us know when you're done.
Yeah, thank you.
You found your file, Farah?
I found it. Thank you.
All right, great. Sometimes, like, if you can't find it, is because you forget the name of it or it's in a wrong file format, so it doesn't pop up on your list. So you just might want to, like, sometimes that happens to me all the time. And, like, if I can't find my file, sometimes I'll just rename it and put it on my desktop so I can physically see it and I know it's there. I don't know what it is about Macs, but, like, disappearing files is a thing. And I'm constantly like, where is the damn file? Like, is it in my documents? Is it on my desktop? Is it, you know, in the file share? Like, I have to, like, go on a hunt to try to find it. If you have a Mac, there is this tool that I use called Alfred. You can download it from the internet, but Alfred works kind of like Spotlight, where if you click on toggle Alfred, it'll give you like this little box once you download the extension. And then here you can search anything on your computer or on the internet. So like if I type in, you know, upload file, like then everything that I have that's upload file will come up so I can easily find files. But that's a shortcut if you're using a Mac. So now that we have everything that we need, there are two buttons when you get to the mapping stage. One is to choose an existing map, and one is to create or edit a map. Choose an existing map is handy because it allows you to save your data maps. So sometimes if you're going and you're uploading data over and over again, you're getting errors and this and that, so that you don't have to go in and create those maps again, you can actually save them so that you can reuse them again. And it creates like this little file on your computer called an SDK map file. And then what happens is if I click choose existing map and I click on that little file, that snippet that it creates, it'll automatically populate the mapping for me. But right now we don't have an existing map. We have to create one because this is the first time we're ever uploading data to the inventory object. So let's go ahead and create or edit a map. So the first thing that I always do is I hit this auto match fields to columns, because anything that Salesforce can pick up as a match, it'll automatically match it for you. So see, it picked up a bunch of them. It didn't pick up all of them, but it picked up a bunch of them for me. And then I can go ahead and manually map the rest of them. So I'm going to look for, like, a bunch of mine didn't map. So I need to go find third row seat. I'm going to drag that down and map it. I need to map the Bluetooth field. So I'm going to drag that down and map it. So the top part is your Salesforce fields. The bottom part is your Excel file. So you're just matching what goes with what. Like, I want the data in the Bluetooth field in my Excel file to upload to the Bluetooth field in Salesforce. And as you can see, it's actually putting in the API names. Remember, we talked about API names? Because the data loader is actually using that API to bring data into Salesforce. So this is a use case when we're actually using that API to achieve something. So now I'm looking for the DVD one. And memory seats didn't map for me. And it still did it because I messed up my map. And mileage. Parking sensors. Power seats. And then record type ID is an important one because remember, we want to make sure that these upload as vehicles and not accessories. And now it looks like I have everything mapped here. And once I do, what I want to do is quickly just double check that all of my fields are mapped accurately. Because if they're not, then it may give you an error. So let's just quickly glance at them and make sure our map file looks okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this map file. And I'm going to call it upload inventory, just in case I get an error when I'm uploading my data, then I can quickly go back and do a quick match. So if I get an error file or something happens and my data file doesn't go through, I don't have to go through that whole process of putting all of those fields in again. It's going to remember this mapping that I created.
Hi, Selena. I have a question. Like, I have two fields called opportunity and then owner ID, and I cannot drag them.
Yeah, because the opportunity field is, you have two fields named opportunity, or you mean you have opportunity and opportunity ID?
I